Hello, welcome to Japan Lyric Room. In this program, we savor the lyrics of Japanese songs, delivering the meanings contained in those phrases and the unique cultural backgrounds behind them in an easy-to-understand way.
It's great to be here. And the song we have today is, well, it's a lot. Emotionally, it's quite turbulent, which makes it a fascinating piece to unpack.
Absolutely. Today, we are turning our attention to the singer-songwriter Natori and his song Serenade. Now, just to set the stage for everyone, this track came out in January 2026, and maybe most importantly, it's the ending theme for Season 3 of the TV anime OshiNoKo.
And that context is absolutely vital. I mean, by Season 3, the story of OshiNoKo has gone to some incredibly dark places.
Oh, for sure.
We're deep into themes of revenge, trauma, the brutal side of the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So Natori isn't just writing a pop song. He's stepping into this really intense, long-running narrative.
Right. And even before we touch the lyrics, the title itself is kind of a curveball, Serenade.
It is.
When I hear that, I picture something classical. You know, a guy with guitar under a balcony, very romantic, very peaceful.
You're completely spot on with the history there. The word serenade comes from the Latin serenus, which means calm.
Okay, so calm.
Yeah. It evolved out of medieval chivalry. The whole idea is a love song, sung at sunset or at night, under a loved one's window. It's meant to be sweet, peaceful. It's about comfort.
Right, calm and comfort. But I've listened to Natori's Serenade, and calm is probably the last word I'd use. It's frantic. It's almost aggressive.
And that is the twist. That's the hook. See, Natori's a huge fan of the original manga. He really gets the protagonist, Aqua.
The main character.
Exactly, a character who is just defined by this immense loneliness, this all-consuming need for revenge, and a kind of self-sacrificial love for his late mother, Ai, and his sister.
So it's not a calm song for a lover, it's something else.
It's a storm. He co-arranged it with the Vocaloid producer Tsumiki, and if you know Tsumiki's work, It's all about high speeds, edgy rhythms, a sort of organized chaos.
That explains the sound. It has this edgy, danceable quality, but it also feels like a panic attack set to music.
Precisely. It's the sound of the storm inside Aqua's head. So the theme is really a requiem sung by a scarred knight. He's living in darkness, but he just wants his loved one to sleep happily. He's singing a serenade from inside his own hurricane.
A scarred knight and a hurricane. That's a powerful image. Let's pull on to that as we dig in. We've pulled out 7 key phrases that really map out this whole tragedy.
And this first one really sets up the, let's call it the twisted logic that Aqua's operating on.
It's this idea that only pain can be proof of love, which is, you know, the opposite of what most of us think.
It is. The song presents this cultural nuance that completely redefines what proof means for a traumatized person. The line conveys this sentiment. This unbearable suffering I feel, precisely because I came to know you, is the only certain proof I have that I love you.
Wow. The only certain proof. So he's basically saying if it didn't hurt this much, the love wouldn't be real.
Yes. He's created an equation in his head where pain equals love. You have to remember, his entire life is now dedicated to avenging his mother, Ai. So for him, ordinary happiness, it feels like a sin.
It's a kind of survivor's guilt, isn't it? How can I be happy when she's gone?
Exactly that. Feeling joy feels like a betrayal. So he can only reassure himself that he hasn't lost his humanity, that he can still feel deeply through the sensation of acute pain and loss.
So the pain is his anchor. It's the only thing connecting him to his past, to her.
It's his tether, and he's terrified to cut it. For him, pain is the only evidence that what he had was real.
That idea of being tethered to darkness, and it leads perfectly into our next phrase, actually. The lyrics kind of zoom out from his internal world to the world around him. He talks about hope and misfortune, and then uses this very specific, almost criminal word, accomplices.
Yes, this is where he starts pointing fingers. But not just at the killer, he's looking at the entire system. Here's the cultural nuance for that part. Both the hope of wishing for a future and the misfortune of thinking into the past are ultimately just subjective perspectives. We were all companions sharing the guilt of this cruel story without even realizing it.
Companions sharing the guilt. The Japanese word is kyohansha, right?
That's the one, kyohansha. Legally, it means an accomplice in a crime, but lyrically, it suggests something deeper, like a shared spiritual karma or guilt.
You know, it feels like a critique of the audience, too. In OshiNoKo, the entertainment industry is this machine that chews people up.
And it only runs because people consume it.
Exactly.
You've hit on a crucial point. The tragedy wasn't caused by one person in a vacuum. The song is leveling this sharp social critique at everyone. The fans who loved the fiction but ignored the reality, the indifferent bystanders, the entire industry structure, they're all complicit.
And Aqua puts himself in that lineup too.
He puts himself right at the front. He calls himself a selfish accomplice because to get his revenge, he has to play their game. He has to lie and manipulate people, just like the ones he despises.
He's becoming the monster to fight the monsters.
And he's fully aware of it. That line is just dripping with inescapable self-loathing. In his eyes, there are no innocent bystanders. Everyone is guilty.
And realizing that you're part of the problem, it must make the future look pretty bleak. Which brings us to phrase number 3.
Right.
The song talks about wishing and praying, but it just hits a wall, and it ends with an apology. I'm sorry for such a sad ending.
This part feels like he's seeing the future. It's a premonition. The cultural nuance is this. Despite exhausting every means and praying so fervently, I am so sorry that it ended in such a tragic way where no one is saved.
Where no one is saved, that sounds so final. It's not, I hope things get better. It's, I know they won't.
It's centered on the word kitsumatsu, which means conclusion or ending. It's like a monologue from someone who has run all the calculations and realized his plan only leads to ruin for everyone.
So who's he apologizing to? His sister? His friends?
All of them, I think. The gamen is for his sister Ruby, his friends, and for Ai, the mother he couldn't save in the first place. He's apologizing for the inevitable crash.
Wow.
But there's another layer here that I find really interesting.
Oh.
It could also be seen as a kind of meta-commentary from the songwriter, Natori. An apology from the artist to the character, Aqua, for being unable to write him a happier fate.
So it's like the author saying, I love this character, but the story demands your suffering.
A very polite Japanese-style apology that just masks this definitive despair. He knows where this path leads, and he's sorry, but he's not going to stop walking it.
It's like he's the conductor of a train he knows is going to crash, and he's just refusing to hit the brakes. Why? And I think this next phrase is the answer.
It really gets to the core of his motivation.
The lyric says that even if everything else is lost, he just wants the pain that proves she lived to remain. We're back to pain again.
We are. But this time, it's not just an anchor, it's something he's actively afraid of losing. He's terrified of healing. Here's the cultural nuance. Even if everything in my life collapses and all things return to nothingness, I do not want to let go of the pain that serves as proof that you truly existed in this world and loved me.
So, pain equals memory. Is that it?
That's it exactly. I mean, think about how our minds work. Forgetting painful things is a defense mechanism. It's how we survive trauma. The sharp edges get dull over time. That's a form of salvation.
But he refuses that salvation.
He does. Because in his mind, if the pain disappears, then the visceral reality of her existence disappears with it. To move on would be the ultimate betrayal.
It's an obsession. He would rather live with this open wound forever than risk the memory fading even slightly.
It's an ultimate expression of love that borders on obsession, yes. He is actively guarding the wound because the wound is all he has left of her.
But you can't. You can't keep that up forever. It must be exhausting. And the lyrics seem to get to that exhaustion with our next phrase. He asks, how many more times must I lose to be satisfied?
This is where the fatigue really kicks in. He's starting to do the math on his revenge, and it isn't adding up. The nuance is, how many more precious bonds must I discard before this heart, trapped in the thirst for revenge, is finally satisfied?
That word, satisfied, it feels so wrong in this context.
It does. He uses the word which means to be filled or to be satisfied. You use it when you're full after a good meal or you achieve a goal. But here it's like he's trying to fill a cup that has a hole in the bottom.
So he's asking, how much more do I have to pour into this empty quest?
And realizing the answer is endlessly. The great insight here is that revenge isn't addition, it's subtraction. It's a process of scraping away parts of yourself.
He's losing friends, his morality, his peace of mind.
All of it. The closer he gets to his goal, the more hollow he becomes. So it's this desperate, dead-end question. He knows that no matter what he does, his soul will never truly be filled.
It's a zero-sum game where he ends up with less than 0. Okay, so far the song's been so calculated and dark, but then we get to phrase 6 and everything just breaks.
The dam breaks, yes. This is the emotional climax.
The lyric just screams, don't disappear.
It's a total shift. Here's the cultural nuance for that scream. Even if my past self is entirely denied and the world is cruelly transformed, please do not let the memory of you, whom I loved with all my life, disappear.
Yeah, I got chills when I first read that. It feels so raw and desperate compared to everything else.
It's a huge shift. Throughout the whole story, Aqua's default mode is defensive. He pushes people away. He's always saying, in effect, don't touch me, I'm dangerous.
He plays the part of the villain to protect everyone.
But right here, all of that rationality just collapses. The real childlike heart is exposed. He's been pushing love away because of his own sins, but in this moment, he abandons all logic.
It's just a pure, terrified plea, don't leave me alone.
Don't disappear. And this is where Sumiki's musical arrangement is so brilliant. The music just swells into this chaotic emotional explosion. It's the sound of someone who can't keep the mask on any longer.
The child inside the Avenger screaming. Which brings us to our final phrase. And this one, honestly, this one just sums up the entire tragedy of his character for me.
It's beautiful and heartbreaking.
He's talking about singing the Serenade, even if it's not me by your side.
This is the pinnacle of what you might call the self-sacrificial aesthetic in Japanese pop culture. The final nuance is this. Even in the world after the reign of sadness has stopped, even if the one walking by your side is not me, even if my heart feels like breaking from continuing to pray, I will perform this song of love for you forever.
Even if it's not me, that's so selfless, but it's so profoundly lonely.
He truly believes he is disqualified from being part of her happiness.
Disqualified?
Yes. He chose the path of darkness and revenge, so that she, whether that's his sister Ruby or the memory of I, could walk in the light. He feels he has too much blood on his hands, metaphorically, to ever hold hers. It's not me is a statement of devotion from a distance.
So he really is the knight in the shadows we talked about at the start.
He is. He's the lonely guardian in the dark, singing his serenade to protect her sleep, wanting nothing in return. He's not the prince who wins the princess. He's the knight who stands guard outside her window forever.
That completely recontextualizes the title. It's not a song of seduction, it's a song of protection. A prayer.
A prayer from the darkness.
Wow. It's about wanting the best for someone, even if it costs you everything, even if you have to become the villain for it to happen.
Exactly. The sound is sharp and painful, but the message at its core is one of pure, if tragic, love. It's a single wish. Be happy, even if it's not with me.
Well, that's a lot to take in. It really is a tragedy you can dance to.
That's the power of great lyricism, isn't it? Hiding the deepest heartbreak in plain sight.
Thank you very much for listening again today.
It was a pleasure to explore this one with you.
We pick up various Japanese songs and update detailed explanations on our website.
That's right. There's always more to discover.
If you want to savor the lyrics deeper, please check the website from the link in the description.
We have a lot more analysis and content there for you.
If you liked this program, please subscribe or follow the channel.
Your support really does help us continue these conversations.
And if you have any impressions or requests for songs you want us to cover, please let us know in the comments.
We genuinely love reading your suggestions and seeing what's resonating with you all.
See you next time. This was Japan Lyric Room.